Back on HQ, and here are some notable AFC East player props for the coming season. You see the two Buffalo Bills at the top, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, touchdown passes for the QB, touchdown receptions for the wideout. Both numbers, by the way, that are under what they achieved a year ago. Tua Tagovailoa, that touchdown passes for the coming season at 24.5. Mac Jones, who threw for 22 a year ago, at 23.5. And Zach Wilson, that number at 21.5, quite high from what he did a season ago. Let's get some insight. Welcome in our NFL wise men, Will Brinson and Emory Hunt. And gentlemen, we're talking player props for the coming season for those AFC East players. Let's start with those Buffalo Bills, two of their biggest threats on offense, over under. Josh Allen, with regards to those scoring strikes, the number is at 34.5. Keep in mind, he's eclipsed that total the last 2 years. Will he go over or under, Will?
I'm going to step in the way of a very dangerous moving bus and take the under here on Josh Allen's player prop for the passing touchdowns. And I'm doing it not because I think he won't have a great season, but I think there's a couple of variables here that could change just the specific outcome of Josh Allen touchdown passes. One, you're going from Brian Daboll to Ken Dorsey, and I think that could mean a little more run-heavy script, particularly if Sean McDermott, really puts his imprint on this offense. So you can end up seeing the Bills maybe be a little less aggressive in terms of their pass-first mentality. I don't think they'll completely abandon it, just that it might change a touch. And then two, Josh Allen, when you talk about if being a touchdown threat, he's also a touchdown threat with his legs, especially in the red zone. And so I think there's a chance that you could get burnt here on the over if he ends up getting some shorter rushing touchdowns and not passing as frequently in the red zone.
You know what, Will? You brought up a great point for your second point, but it's because of your first point, I'm going to go over. It's because Ken Dorsey was a quarterback, and quarterbacks get in charge of the controls and say, hey, guess what we're about to do? Throw the football some more. He has a great target in Stephon Diggs. I think because of those two elements, he's going to go over this number. And also, with a lot of these numbers, I feel like the folks and some in Vegas still forget it's a 17-game season. I feel like the Bills will be competitive throughout the season, which means they won't get the chance to rest starters in week 17, so Josh Allen will play the full season. I look for him to go over this number by a smidge. I say 36 touchdowns is probably the limit for Josh Allen because of what Will said about his rushing ability.
Yes, they have a new coaching change with regards to the offense next year. His top wideout is Stephon Diggs. He had 10 touchdown receptions last season. His number this year, 8.5. Emory, where do you go on that prop?
I'm going over. I think 9 or 10 is where he's going to land. And what I love most about Stephon Diggs, he's only 6'1". He's not a 6'5" wideout that can play above the rim. But when you put him inside the red zone, he is a great technician in terms of how he is able to win quickly and swiftly in short spaces. So he's going to get open inside the green zone, which is from the 10-yard line going in. And he's the number one receiver. You're going to look to your best guy when you want big plays to happen. I think he's going to go over this number easily.
I'm going to take the under here. And again, I don't like getting in the way of this. I love Diggs this year. I think he has a great season. I think the Bills are awesome. But you add James Cook to the mix here. Dawson Knox's continued development as a red zone threat. And again, Josh Allen runs the ball a ton when he gets inside the 10, inside the 5. I think that could potentially limit these guys going over those totals. So I will take the under on Stephon Diggs, but don't feel great about it.
All right, so clearly health will be a key for all these players, just like Miami's Tua Tagovailoa. His touchdown pass total at 24.5. He had 16 last season, missed games. So where are you on that number, Will?
I'm being pessimistic tonight, I guess. I'm going under on Tua Tagovailoa as well. I think that in this Mike McDaniel offense, he can certainly thrive, but I would expect that they lean on the run a lot and that they utilize that wide array of backs that they have in there. Of course, they brought in Raheem Mostert, they brought in Chase Edmonds. I know that everything that we hear about from this training camp with the Dolphins is all glowing with Tua and everything like that. But once the lights get on, I can see them restricting his downfield shots a little bit. I'll take the under on this one.
You know what I compared him to coming out of college? Jimmy Garoppolo, and using that as the backdrop, you look at Jimmy Garoppolo's highest touchdown mark was about 27. So I feel like Tua will reach that this year. So I'm going to go over here. And when you look at his best trait, it's his accuracy and his ball placement. And you combine those two things with two tremendous, explosive catch and run guys in Jalen Waddle and also Tyreek Hill, you're going to see a lot of short passes go a long way. And I do agree with the run game. That's going to make this offense open up a little bit more so, because I'm a big fan of Chase Edmonds and what he brings to the table. They finally got themselves a threat in the backfield, which will make that passing game a lot easier. And I love the accuracy combined with the speed of Waddle and Hill. I look for him to go over.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, right? Because Tua in college was a deep ball thrower. In the pros, just goes the short ball route there. This one, though, is interesting because I could point to past numbers, but it would not be apples for apples, as Patrick Mahomes was his quarterback. Tyreek Hill now in Miami, receiving yards total at 1050 and a hook. Emory, where are you on that figure, knowing Tua is his QB this season?
It's about whether or not you can hit the chunk play, and we're talking about one of the best chunk play makers in football, and Tyreek Hill. He's this era's version of Flipper Anderson, and how explosive he is in getting down the field. So it won't take much for him to rack up these 1,000 yards. Now the difference is, and I'm a little bit more hesitant on this number, is because he won't probably get the 115 plus targets that he got in Kansas City, because they have someone excellent and explosive on the opposite side. So he's going to have to really maximize the opportunity he gets. I do think that'll happen, so I like for him to go over by a smidge here with this number.
Yeah, I'll take the over here too, and I'm really taking it more in part because I think that this Mike McDaniel offense, you saw what Kyle Shanahan did with Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. They are yak monsters. You get them open in space, and if Tyreek Hill's catching the ball underneath with no one really around him, he's going to turn the corner and pick up a bunch of yards. So I agree with Emory. The targets are going to be down, maybe the catches are going to be down, but I do think the yardage, the receiving yardage, can certainly be there for Tyreek Hill in this offense. It's just designed for speedy playmakers.
All right, let's go back to QBs. Mac Jones had 22 scoring strikes last season. His number this year, 23 and a half. Will, over or under?
I can't believe it's this high. That's shocking to me that that he's up at 23 and a half. Given all the reports we have coming out of Patriots training camp, they're transitioning from a power run scheme to a zone blocking scheme. And it's Bill Belichick, the greatest football coach of all time, but still a defensive guy, installing it. And then he's entrusting it to Matt Patricia, a former defensive coordinator who just got fired by the Lions 2 years ago. And then Joe Judge, who ran the 1 yard surrender sneak on 3rd and 1 with the Giants last season late in the year. I mean, these two guys running an offense, it reminds me of Juan Castillo going from offensive line coach to defensive coordinator with the Dream Team Eagles back in 2013. I am wary of Mac Jones's, I like Mac Jones a lot. I am wary of his production this year, particularly the touchdown passes.
There's no need to build on what Will said. I agree with him wholeheartedly. You go under here, and what really bothers me is the hook. I feel like 23 is the right number for Mac Jones, but Will laid it out perfectly. Look at what they did best last year. Ran the football. Look at what they're going to do this year. Run the football. Look at what they don't have this year. Better receiving options. So this screams under run game defense. They'll try to salt games away. They won't rely on Mac Jones, try to air it out. 23, 22 is probably his best number, but definitely under that hook number that they have right here.
Yes, I'm still trying to wrap my head around Joe Judge, an offensive coach for the coming year. Then there is Zach Wilson, an uneven rookie year that had more lows than highs, including injury, produced just 9 touchdown passes. His number is 21 and a hook. Emory, where do you stand on that figure for the second-year Jets quarterback?
I stand on top of the hill as an over guy with this number, because I feel like on paper, pound for pound, the Jets have a much better roster than the New England Patriots. I actually had them finishing ahead of New England in the AFC East. So I feel like Zach Wilson learned a lot last year. The back end of the season, he really started to hone in and stop turning the ball over. I think that'll carry over to this season with better options at receiver, a more competent run game. This number is very low based off what he did last year, but is not projecting forward. So look for him to go over that number and get closer to that 30 touchdown passing mark this season.
Yeah, I'm kind of bullish on Zach Wilson as well, but I agree with Emory completely on what they've done with that offensive, like in terms of the personnel. The Mekhi Becton thing really stings, though. They could have, Garrett Wilson could be great, and for all we know, like their first round picks could end up being great, but they could have gone with a left tackle there if they were more. I don't know. To me, I know it's hindsight 2020, but the idea that you could get a left tackle there and serve as some kind of Becton insurance, and they didn't do do it, and now I'm worried about the protection. I'm going to go under, mainly because I think they'll try and be better on defense, use Breece Hall a ton, and Zach Wilson won't be asked to air it out too much. But if he takes that proverbial leap, and he's certainly capable of doing it, then he'll blow this number out of the water.
Yes, Will, your theme is under for the coming. No question about it. Our thanks to Will Brinson and Emory Hunt, HQ NFL analysts. Here's a look at how they view these AFC playoff props for the coming season. You see, for Emory, there's one under. For Will, there's one over. They're at odds on the first three. Josh Allen, touchdown passes at 34.5. Will likes the under. Emory, the over. Stephon Diggs, 8.5 touchdown receptions. Will under. Emory over. Tua Tagovailoa, 24.5 on the scoring strikes for the coming season. Again, Will under. Emory over. They're in lockstep on Tyreek Hill going over 1050.5 receiving yards in his first year in Miami. They also agree on the under with regards to Mac Jones' touchdown pass number at 23.5, considering the coaching changes on the offensive end in New England. And they're at odds with regards to Zach Wilson. Will liking the under at 21.5 scoring strikes, while Emory is bullish and going over.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.